I'm joined now by Tennessee State Senator London Lamar. She serves in the upper house in that state. She previously served in the Tennessee House and now chairs the Democratic caucus in the Senate. Sherrilyn Ifill also joins me, of course, civil rights attorney, former president, director, counsel of the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. Senator London, let me start with you. What is going through your mind as you are watching this unfold in the state capital in which you serve?
I'm right now sitting in my office just absolutely pissed at the mass display of racism that you just experienced by watching the expulsion of two black men who were sent here overwhelmingly voted by their district, and they expelled them for speaking out against gun violence, but they kept the white woman in office who was just as guilty of speaking out against gun violence and has displayed multiple acts of disruption and civil disobedience throughout the years that she's been here. And so what you're seeing is the GOP's fragility and the absolute disregard for democracy in our country with what they're doing with these two black men here in this state. 6 people died in a mass shooting last week. Black children in the city of Memphis have been dying of gun violence all year, and they refuse to do anything about it. And because they have silenced the voices of these individuals that were up for persecution today, what we're seeing now is a political lynching of people who are speaking up for victims in this state because they refuse to do something about gun violence. I am upset. This is absolutely ridiculous what they're doing to these individuals, and it is a threat to democracy from around this country.
Sherrilyn, the Constitution guarantees to each state a Republican form of governance, and Republican in that phrase in the Constitution is understood by the founders of democracy, a representative form of governance. Mm-hmm. Is this allowable, what's happening?
Chris, please excuse my voice. I'm a little under the weather, but I'm so outraged by what I witnessed today. And I've had the opportunity and the privilege over the last few days of speaking back and forth with Representative Jones. And I'm not surprised by what happened today, but I think it is such a powerful tableau that tells us precisely the moment we are at in this country. And Representative Justin Pearson just said it. We can never normalize the end of democracy. Every legislature has rules and rules for decorum, rules for the conduct, rules for committees. And they also have sanctions for violations of those rules. And they are on a sliding scale. One can be reprimanded, one can be censured, one can be stripped of committee assignments, which all 3 of these representatives were on the day of their protest. But the most extreme is expulsion, because expulsion is a sanction not just against the representative, but against the voters who voted them into office. Justin Pearson and Justin Johnson were just elected. They are in their first session. Justin Johnson was sworn in on January 10th. This is what they did to these young men who just entered the State House. And if you heard, Chris, and I'm sure that your other guests can attest to this, this is part of a broader context of what has been happening in the House, the silencing of Democratic representatives, of Black representatives, and of anyone who wants to talk about serious measures around gun violence. The turning off of their mics, the speaker not acknowledging individuals to speak, calling the question before there's been debate. So what you heard today is the exposure of what has been an entirely anti-democratic practice in the Tennessee House under this speaker's leadership. And what happened in that protest was the refusal of these representatives to allow their voice to be silenced, buoyed by the power of these young people who came out of school. And Representative Johnson said it today, young people, many of whom cannot yet vote, many of whom feel disenfranchised, but all of whom feel terrified by the possibility of gun violence, particularly in their schools. And they refuse to be silenced. But this comes as there has to be a context here of the anti-democratic way in which these representatives and others, because you heard other members of the Black Caucus say the same thing. They have been living under this circumstance in which they have not been able to speak, in which they have not been able to put issues on the agenda for committees, and now it's all been exposed today.
Senator Lamar, let me ask you, as someone who served in that body in the House, now serves in the state Senate, one thing that's striking to me is just the a combination of rage and panic. It's just a strange, very volatile set of emotions and actions from the Republican majority when they have a supermajority in the House. They don't have to take up any bills that they don't want to. They could, they could get through a few protests. Why are they acting like this? This reaction is really something to behold.
I mean, they are pretty weak when it comes to their egos. If you talk about things that they don't like, if you call out racial injustice, they like to punish you because they want to silence you unless you're speaking about the issues that they deem important. This is not the first time someone's been censured. When I spoke out about racism when I was entering the State House a couple of years ago, I was the only freshman that didn't get to pass a piece of legislation because I called out racism that was used in the 2018 campaign. When I wore a shirt on the State House floor that talked about my blackness, I was silenced and I couldn't speak during the legislative session. This is not the first time their fragility when it comes to the conversation of racism has happened. What's happening today is the furthest they have ever gone, the first time in history any representative or even senator, anybody has been reprimanded to this extent without committing any sort of criminal crime. They like to flex their power in order to silence and shut you down, to make you act in a way that they deem is necessary. And this is the issue with the supermajority in Tennessee. When you don't have anyone to check your power, can literally pass anything you want to with no repercussions. These are actions that happen. And what is happening to these two young black men is on display of the world is if you don't act the way I tell you to act, then I'm going to lynch you politically in front of the whole nature. And that's exactly what happened today.
Sherilyn, that to go back to the broader context here, this is a very aggressive gerrymander in this state along state assembly lines. Obviously, it's a very Republican state, but it's a enormous lopsided 75-25, something in that in that range. We've seen this in Wisconsin. We've seen it in North Carolina, a state that's very, very hotly contested, in which there's 2/3 majorities now in both houses thanks to that gerrymander. Yeah. We see it in state after state. That's part of what's facilitating this here. Even though Tennessee's a conservative state and does have a Republican, statewide office, part of what's facilitating here is the way they've drawn the districts so that they have the power to do what they're doing today.
Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And today was an example of an abuse of power. I do want to say a word about due process, because when you have the kind of supermajority that they have in this House, and you have a speaker willing to wield that power in the way this speaker is, then the immediate thing that falls is process. The last representative who was expelled in 2016, and this came out today, it was shocking. There was an ad hoc committee appointed to investigate the motion to expel. That investigation was brought, and all of the materials and the evidence was shared with the entire House in advance of the trial and hearing. I mean, there was a whole process that was followed. None of that happened with these young men. When I spoke with Justin Jones yesterday, he didn't even know what the process was going to be today. He didn't even know how long he would be able to talk. He didn't know how the back and forth would go. None of this was provided to these young men. And I've never seen a kind of this shocking absence of due process. But when you have this kind of supermajority and you have someone so willing to wield power in this way, this speaker, the day of the protest, tweeted, the video of the protest on the floor and tagged Donald Trump and Donald Trump Jr. and Candace Owens. Like, that's who we're dealing with. That's the Speaker of the Tennessee House. And so he's willing to allow this to happen. And so these young men who have only been in this chamber for 3.5 months were escorted out, were expelled without due process, without an investigation. And there was a point today when it became clear that that was necessary. Video was introduced as evidence against these young men. It was never authenticated. It was never clear who actually took the video. It became clear that there is a rule also in the House that taking video on the House floor violates the rules. So any member who took that video also would have violated the rules. It also wasn't clear whether during that protest they were in recess or not in recess. You would have to go frame by frame and use timestamps to understand whether in fact they violated the rules during the session or whether recess had already been established. I mean, there was a lot here that needed to be investigated, and perhaps going forward will be investigated if these two young men choose to challenge this legally. But this is what we watched today. Absolute lawlessness, a video just introduced from nowhere with no one willing to take responsibility for who took the video because they knew that it violated the rules of the House.